Chad, I'm being told that, and listen, worst case scenario, right? This is worst case scenario. If Destiny suddenly dies, I'm being told that this game made by Riot could be our next new home. Let's take a look.
See, I told you we would be back talking about Riot's MMO. Though I thought it would be under different circumstances. Well, if there is something Riot is known for, it is finding ways of getting money and then burning that money in an attempt to evolve gaming. They were arguably the first to break the video game movie curse with Arcane. They pushed the FPS genre onto a whole new level of fandom with Valorant, which finally forced Valve to do something, and lately they are trying to do something in the fighting game genre with simpler controls, while most of their competition is scaring the casual player base away with complex combos. So one could argue, at least Riot is not afraid of taking risks and bringing in results after milking their whales. And right now, one of the most hyped games that should theoretically come out of these investments is the Runeterra MMO. A project that's been worked on for a very long time now and which went through a lot of changes. At least, that's what was teased on Twitter. And
So for those not familiar, Joe, who was the game director for Destiny 2, it was speculated that this was the game that he went and keep in mind, his background is raid design, right? It's like his forte. It was speculated his time at Riot was working on this game. And then he went from Riot back to Destiny because Bungie offered him the Destiny 2 director role. Let's continue.
Good news is that as far as we know, the MMO is still alive. There are rioters still holding their positions working on the MMO. Even though the latest piece of news was that the game took a step back, so Riot could reassess the MMO genre as a whole to make sure they can actually evolve what is currently available on the MMO market. To some, this would mean that there would be no more Riot MMO news for a while. Or at least, that is if the definition of MMOs didn't evolve. And if Riot weren't a freak that is not afraid of prototyping an endless sea of games. That's right, even though Riot already has a good arsenal of games under their belt. As they confirmed during the time all the layoffs happened, they are still working on more games in the background, some of which are even single-player games. One such game that seemed to always go towards the single-player area with optional co-op was Project F, a top-down hack-and-slash adventure game that we have never seen anything about outside of the 10th anniversary video. But we still know it exists and there are some job listings hinting at it. Well, the interesting thing is that this entire time, by which I mean well over a year now, these job listings have also been looking for devs in a very specific field. They've been looking for devs with the technical knowledge around FPS games to work on a game that is not Valorant, mind you. This is a different FPS game that Riot is working on, which also has RPG elements, narrative, and MMO-like structure. And
Jesus, man. This is like literally the Batman signal for anyone that has left Bungie here recently, right?
If all of these are correct, then this means that Riot is working on another MMO. And if you think about it, it is actually genius. Now first, let's dive into how we got to this conclusion. It all actually started a year ago. Back then, there was a job listing on Riot's official website, and there they were looking for game designer on progression and meta systems for unpublished R&D product. The catch is, originally in this listing, instead of R&D, they called this game Project T. This is important because, as we know, all of Riot's games have their project name. And Project T is an entirely new name, meaning it should be different from the Riot MMO we knew until now. Which, by the way, now we are gonna call it the Runeterra MMO, just to distinguish these. And later, when Riot realized this oopsie, they went back, they removed the mention of Project T, which pretty much confirmed, yep, they are working on a new game. But what they were asking for is also
Project D's. Stop it.
interesting. First, we got a bunch of confirmations that this was indeed a live service game. They are asking for long-term meta progressions, as well as progressions across multiple seasons, but also currencies and deeper economy, which would hint more towards an MMO setting. And then it dove into requirements which revealed a lot more. Besides the classics, such as requiring 8 billion years of practice as a game designer, they also ask you that you already shipped at least one AAA game. Let me tell you, in 2024, that does not mean a lot. Or you can also ship a lifestyle online game with long-form progression. If you're not sure what a lifestyle game is, it is—
Dude, Riot, just say it. If you're leaving Bungie right now, we have a job for you. I mean, literally just say it.
is what you would consider a main game. Like, hey, what's your main game? Oh, it's League of Legends. Or WoW. Or Fortnite. It is basically a massive live service game. Then they ask for experience on in-game economy, a deep familiarity with long-term progressions, for example, MMO, FPS, premium mobile competitive multiplayer ARPG.
Okay, how many MMO FPS games are out there? There's only one and it's currently burning.
This is where the curiosity was piqued because FPS was kinda randomly mentioned here. There aren't that many FPS games with a long-term progression system. Maybe besides Battle Royales or even the old Call of Duty games. But later they once again repeat that they have a desire that you have an insight into MMOs and FPS games. But then, after this, there was another job listing. This one came asking for a concept artist for weapons, for an R&D.
Keep in mind right here, it says locations, Los Angeles, USA, but additional locations, Bellevue. As in literally, is this, I'm assuming it's Bellevue, Washington, right where Bungie is located. Satellite offices, right. But you can literally just pick up people right there in Bellevue.
Project. Now again, because this is R&D, it is not Valorant. Otherwise, they would have just stated so. And the reason why I'm mentioning this here is because they are looking for a concept artist for 3D weapons in a stylized art style. And the requirement is to have experience with first or third person camera orientation in-game. Once again, hinting that we are dealing with an FPS game. As a fun fact, it also seems to be Unreal Engine 5. But lastly, there is also one more job listing that is up right now. They are looking for a game designer on weapons on an unpublished R&D game. And here they straight up confirm it is for a first-person combat game.
Somebody make sure Chris Proctor doesn't leave, okay? Whatever we do, actually, matter of fact, make sure he knows nothing about this position. Not that he would leave, but this is, yeah, we can't have that happen.
Which is not Valorant, because it is an R&D game. Now, the reason why this is likely linked to Project T is because here they are specifically asking for FPS specialization, and the game is also in Unreal Engine. Things simply start to overlap, which means it is not confirmed, but there is an extremely big chance that Riot might be working on an MMO FPS. And they have been for more than a year now. So why am I making a video on it?
Actually, more than a year, in my opinion. Again, Joe, it was 2020, I want to say. Maybe 2019, Chad. When did Joe Blackburn leave? I'm telling you guys, he was working on the Riot's MMO. Why would you hire someone who designs raids in a game like Destiny to come work at your studio? By the way, with a high-profile position. Why? You're not going to have him come work on Valorant, you know? Oh, I'm not saying he doesn't have skills, but it's probably for the MMO FPS game that they've been, you know, essentially been hinting about now for forever now. I think he worked there for like 2 years, and then Joe got offered the position to be game director of Destiny 2. Obviously took that position. That's a huge position. Comes back to Destiny 2. Interestingly enough, a number of Riot people came with them to Destiny 2. Maybe not with them, but they came at the same time. Essentially went from Riot to Bungie. He could have been working on anything. Okay, let me just say it without saying it, assholes. Joe Blackburn was working on a fucking MMO FPS game for Riot. How do I know? Just take my damn word for it. He was.
Now? Because someone made a totally random tweet and it might be made up, so I might as well. Anyway, as I mentioned, there is a good reason why this might be a genius move. Right now, there is a massive gap in the MMO FPS game genre. The only game that is really trying to hold the line is Destiny 2. But it is failing, and there is a massive reason why, and we will get into that in just a moment. Also, I've heard that literally today Bungie had massive layoffs and things are not looking great. Anyway, the main point is that if Riot manages to put their foot in the door, they could guarantee a success if they play their hands right. And that's because they have one ginormous advantage. You see, the Runeterra MMO has always been seen as a guaranteed hit by many. Not because Riot would be known for their high-quality games. I mean, to be fair, their games are high quality with a lot of polish, but there is still the League of Legends spaghetti. But it's more because the Runeterra MMO already has its audience. Should they release that MMO, they don't have to look for the players. The players that know their universe are just sitting there, just waiting for them to drop it. And that's because League's universe is already well established.
And that's the other thing. That's one thing that Riot has over so many other studios is they're winning on so many fronts. So many fronts. They're not like Bungie where they have just one revenue source. They have multiple revenue sources and a hit show. Arcane was so good that I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna play League of Legends again. And I hadn't played League in years. And I'm not saying I don't like League. I do enjoy playing League, but I just had no interest in playing League again. But Arcane was so good because like as I'm watching it, you know, with the fam, I'm like, this character, that character, you know, this is who V is. Oh my God, this is who Powder is and who she becomes. You know what I mean? Nobody knew it, you know, because nobody else played League in my household. But you know, that was so cool to see those connections come together. Why can't we get a Destiny anime? Well, we thought that's what Bungie was working on too, but that's not. Yeah. So Riot, they're winning on multiple fronts. So it's not a question of do they have the money here? They do have the money here. And if they wanted to capture that audience that want to dip their toes into an MMO FPS in the same universe, it would be an easy layup for them. I mean, it really would be. All right, let's continue.
I mean, I should know that. This channel was always dedicated to the lore of League of Legends. And I might have made more than 5 videos talking about the world of the MMO that is already set up. But logically, this would mean that should Riot try to spin up a different MMO, one that is not part of the Runeterra IP, unless they really focus on the Guns of Piltover or something, that would mean their other MMO wouldn't have this advantage. They would have to build up a separate universe. And all things considered, they would have to earn their audience again. Right? Wrong! Big bad wrong. Let's refer to Google Trends for a moment. This tool is amazing at comparing what people are interested in around the world. And we can use this tool to have a look at League of Legends, the most talked about Riot game, which would also suggest that this is their biggest IP. However, let's compare it to Valorant, a game that took the FPS genre by storm and which managed to quickly dominate it. And as to how much it dominates, well, these days, Valorant actually managed to match the size of League of Legends. And it even overtook it in some countries. Meaning that the hype behind Valorant is just as big as the hype behind League. Which brings up a really interesting point. What if Riot is taking this MMO FPS and putting it into the Valorant universe? Shouldn't that have just as a massive result as...
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was for sure going to be in the same universe as League. I personally think they're working on a straight up looter shooter. Like just a straight up MMO looter shooter. I mean, directly duking it out with Destiny. I don't know what universe it's going to be though. I don't know if it would be League or if it would be Valorant. But let's continue.
the Runeterra MMO? Well, yes, it should, under one condition. The condition that A, the audience is already familiar with the setting, which it is because Valorant is one of the top played games in the world right now, and B, the universe is already set up, which let me tell you, oh boy is it set up. It is to such a degree I can actually make a video on the classes of this MMO right now. Yes, we can make a full circle out of this if you want. We have all the massive lore around Radianite and how it gave people superpowers and empowered their tech. And you know what that smells to me? That smells like a really cool setup for possible classes. I mean, Destiny only has 3 main classes. The Hunter, which is your classic sharpshooter, the Warlock, which is using spells, and the Titan, which is your classic Juggernaut. In Valorant, you have the more tech-oriented characters who got their superpowers from the apocalyptic events, or even a playable machine. They even have their own classes like the Initiator, the Controller, the Duelist, and even the classic Support. As I said, I am ready to go wild and explain how Valorant's lore can
Yeah, I don't know how much Destiny's played, but that's all right. That's okay.
support all of this. Speaking of which, this is something that needs to be said. Every year when Valorant releases a new episode, they release a cinematic which gives us a new piece of a story. And every year those cinematics go wild, gaining millions of views in mere days after release. It is obvious people love these characters and they love this universe. And so, just like
Jesus, man, that is there any boosting there, or is that all natural? Let me just say this too. You could boost the shit out of your views on YouTube. You know what I mean? Well, I'll show you an example in just a moment. But you know, like when you look at those cinematics, are they being boosted anyway? Like the Marathon trailer? Okay, hold on. All right, look. So the Marathon trailer is sitting at 21 million views. This is where everyone was a bit confused about. There's 21 million views, 90,000 likes, and 6,000 comments. Oh my God, this comment right here was 4 days ago. Can't wait for this release. 5 layoffs later. Oh my Lord. Anyways, with YouTube, the way it works, like if you really want everyone to see your, like if you're like, I just want to get people to see my trailer, you could pay X amount of dollars and have everyone see it. It's not organic, but it makes the number look big. I'm not saying that's what Valorant or that's what Riot does, but I always have to question it, right?
Like it is with the Runeterra MMO, Riot is sitting on golden eggs here. Which brings me to one last thing. As always, all of this relies on one thing that is rooted around every game. This game is no exception, and so I have to repeat that gameplay is king. Which is why there is so much potential, because the gameplay of the competitors is ass. As I said, perhaps the biggest competitor is Destiny here. There were also others who tried to do something in this genre, like Anthem, which is as much as I would like to say about that game, with Destiny sticking around because the gameplay is fun. The gunplay is really good. And that's pretty much what is carrying all of this. I mean, it always called itself an MMO because it does have MMO elements. Getting loot is kind of fun. Doing the dungeons is kind of fun. But there is one massive reason why I dropped this game very quickly after trying it. When Destiny 2 originally launched, I got all the way to the end game. I got my gear pretty high up by doing dailies and all the high-end missions. But then came the obstacle. Destiny 2 has really cool raids. They are amazing experiences that look fantastic, which is something I have never done. Even though I wanted to try a Destiny raid multiple times in the past. And you know why that is? It's because in order to get into a raid, you have to put a group together in a game without group finder, without public invites, and without proper chat support. You call yourself an MMO, but if you want to do the MMO endgame things, you have to quit the game, go on Discord or a third-party website, find people there, add their tags, invite them into a group, and then you hop into the raid?
So he's speaking from the perspective of somebody that hasn't played Destiny in years. So he probably doesn't know about Fireteam Finder. I have to agree with him. Fireteam Finder, although I really, really like it, should have been a feature added many years ago. Honestly, it should have been added at the launch of Destiny 2. Why it took so long to become a priority? Well, we know why. It wasn't a priority because under Activision, Bungie was just going to keep spitting out another Destiny over and over. And so creating a game, this live game that existed for many, many years, didn't really matter because at this point, we were supposed to be on a Destiny 4, if you will. But yes, Fireteam Finder should have been something that existed a long time ago.
Honestly don't know if they fixed this since the release. But this was the point I immediately quit the game. I'm not asking for a raid finder, God forbid that. I can sit in Orgrimmar looking for a group all day, but don't make me do that on a third-party website where I have to post my game tag publicly. So, that's why I quit.
Fair. You know, I mean, some people that was probably too much at the time. So that's fair. That's fair. That is an unfortunate thing because he's saying what his experience is, but that's a fair experience. That's what people had, and it's unfortunate that Bungie couldn't capitalize on the folks that dipped their toes in Destiny at one time. Some things came a little too late, and I think like now would be a great time to experience that raid or any raid with Fireteam Finder being present in the game. So it's unfortunate, man. It really is, but that's fair.
And you know why I'm not coming back? I don't even know which expansion to buy to play the game. But yeah.
That's another thing that's fair. That's another thing that's fair. Dude, I love Destiny. I do, but it's a fair point. Listen. When you go to Destiny on Steam, I think that, let me look at it right now. So you've got the Legacy Collection 2024. Then you have all this content right here, which of course you could pick up. You could pick up all the content right now for $409. I know you guys can't see this. $409.88. You could just play it for free and just try out the free aspects of it. Look, man, I personally think that if Destiny, like straight up, I would make the whole game, or I would have a free option to play the game with limited access to stuff, and then just lock, raids and dungeons and other like high-end activities behind a subscription paywall. And I know everyone's gonna be like, no, Cross, I would never pay a subscription. Look, I'd pay $8-9 a month. $8-9 a month. I get access to everything in Destiny. And that way, somebody ever wants to onboard and get themselves in the game, they pay $8 to $9 and they could try literally everything. They could try Last Wish Raid, or I guess is that free now? I don't know. But they could literally just jump into everything in the game. Nah, bro. So $8 to $9 a month is where you draw the line. So that means if you're fast enough, you could jump in the game, pay your $8 to $9 in that single month. No life, the piss out of Destiny. Literally everything right there. And then you cancel your sub on day 29. Boom. Cancel it. Come back next year. No, I'm saying $8 to $9 literally giving you access to everything, even the annual expansions. It'd be a better onboarding experience. You get more people that are not as, because right now what happens when they see all these different things you're supposed to, like, you could potentially buy, they feel a bit overwhelmed. And it's like, no, here you go. Pay your $8, your $9, get access to everything, cancel whenever you like. It's the RuneScape model. RuneScape has a free-to-play world, which is very small, very limited. And then it has the member world. And the member world, you'll be walking around in free-to-play and you'll go up to this gate. You'll try to open it and you can't open it. And it'll be like, hey, you got to pay, bitch. And so you knew at that moment, like, I could see this entire world if only I paid money. RuneScape again? Yeah, RuneScape again. The game that somehow won't die with the community that continues to increase year over year. All right, let's get back to this video.
That's pretty much where we are with Project T at this time. Keep in mind that all of this are just theories and none of this was confirmed, but it really seems like in the background Riot is dabbling in some very specific game genres around MMOs and FPS games. And yes, right now there is a massive window open there. And if there is something Riot is known for, it is jumping through those windows. No matter the genre, no matter the scale. And since we are talking about a potential MMO here, I'm afraid I'm gonna make more videos on this.
All right, guys. Yeah, check out this video. This is from Necrit. Good video there, Necrit. Yeah, a lot of it is speculation, but he's going over the job listings, and it's not far off from the information that we've been given a long time ago. The question is, if there was ever a studio that could pull this off, I think Riot could do it, man. I really do think they could do it. Their resources are vast. They know how to pull the right talent. And I think that they could make an interesting universe, whether it's, you know, League's universe or Valorant's universe. I don't know. I don't. And until we see something from Riot directly, for the time being, if Destiny was to die tomorrow, sorry, fellas, we're homeless. We have no home game anymore. We're probably going to bounce around. We'll probably dabble in this game and that game. And then slowly depression will come to us and sink in. And as we come to realization that there's just no other looter shooter, MMO, first person shooter, just nothing like that. That's if Destiny dies, though.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.